News Radio 700 WLW.
We all are aware, I'm sure, of what transpired last night up on the campus of Michigan State University. A gunman with absolutely no affiliation whatsoever to Michigan State University shot 8 people. 3 are dead, 5 are in critical condition. 4 of the 5 in critical had to undergo surgery. The 5th did not. And we have no idea why this happened. The people on the right, they automatically default to the fact that, well, it wasn't the gun. You know, the gun didn't magically hop out of a cab and walk into a student lecture hall and start shooting people up. And the people on the left say there are too many guns on the street. And so we'll have that kind of chirping for the next 48 hours. And then after that, we'll just stand by and wait for the next shooting to happen. This on the 5th anniversary of the Parkland shootings, and less than a year down the road from what happened at Uvalde. Standing by is somebody who knows all about this. I mean, he's dedicated his life to criminology, and he teaches it and teaches it very well at Tarleton State University and is a good guest of this program. He would be Dr. Alex Del Carmen. Doctor, how are you on this glorious Tuesday?
I'm doing well, Ken. Always great to talk to you.
I'm glad you're with us, Doctor. So anyway, it would seem to me that, and again, I don't know what I don't know, but it would seem to me that this was yet another soft target, that these schools continue to be soft targets, where we hear about these shootings, and they happen, and everybody says we have to tighten up security, and that's not just the school where the shooting happens, but schools all over the country, and then we let our guard down again in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months. This just seems like another soft target. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're exactly right, Ken. And look, you know, in the end, we're going to have, and I've said this before in your program many times, and you and I agree on this, is that this is going to continue to happen, right? This is going to continue to happen, and unfortunately, we are at a point right now in society where we're going to have to either make some choices, right? One of the choices is, do we want to make the target harder to be penetrated? By virtue of that, I mean, putting security guards, police officers, metal detectors, and whatnot, even in universities and college campuses? Or do we simply want to say, look, you know, this is going to happen. We just have to worry about what sort of response rate we have, what sort of response time we have, and how can we minimize the loss of life when these events do happen. So it's really a choice that we have to make. And unfortunately, as per your introduction to this particular story, I think you're spot on. We talk about it from the left, talk about it from the right, and then people move on and forget about it until the next event takes place.
Well, the right doesn't want, they want their guns. And the right says, no, it's not the gun that creates the problem. The gun can't do it on itself. It's the person. And we have, as a country, over at least the last 40 years, maybe longer, have had a complete lack of funding, lack of support, lack of understanding of mental health in this country. When you raise that to somebody on the left, they say, that's crazy. It's not about people. It's about guns, and there's too many guns in this country. Both can be right at the same time, can they not?
You know, what I know is that the access to guns in itself as a core is not the issue here, right? I really do believe that this is what we call a perfect storm. And we've had COVID for a number of years. We have this sort of shifting in the economy that is taking place right now. Labor market seems to not know where it's going. We have the sort of international sense that, you know, security in our country is no longer what it used to be. And so all of that added to the fact that there are people with mental illness that have issues and they need a treatment way before COVID, but now that's been sort of augmented. I really do believe that the combination of all of those factors has led us to where we are today. And I will also undermine that as part of that effort is the fact that so many people, sadly, began to ask for the defunding of the police, and now it's very difficult for police departments to be able to hire competent people to do this very difficult job in law enforcement. So I think when you add that to the mix, you truly have a perfect storm. And I don't care what both sides are saying. I'm telling you what the data is showing from a scientific perspective as a criminologist.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a governor up in Michigan who said during the election for her office last fall that she did not in any way, shape, or form support the idea of defund the police. But the same governor Gretchen Whitmer, and this is going back a couple of years in June, that she supported the spirit of it. So she's all over the map politically. She's out front today, and she's outraged. Everybody's outraged up there. But I think it's pretty simple. We need cops. We need police. And, yeah, you're going to get what you got, unfortunately, with George Floyd. You're going to get what you got up in Memphis. Fact of the matter is, there are lousy cops out there, just like there are lousy school teachers, and there's lousy salesmen, there are lousy talk show hosts. But by and large, and Dr. Del Carmen, I know this is a broad brush umbrella, and shoot me down if you will and tell me I'm wrong, but most cops at the end of the day just want to do their job. They want to enforce the law. They want to do it peacefully, and they just want to go home at night. I think 99.9% of them feel that way. And the few that unfortunately give them a bad name are the ones that get the headlines. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're spot on, Ken. And I look, in 25 years, keep in mind, I'm a first-generation immigrant from Nicaragua. I've trained close to 25,000 police officers in the course of 25 years. And I'm telling you right now, you're spot on. 99.9% of police officers are honest, decent, hardworking people. And like every other profession, there's a handful of cops that should not be there. Now, the question is, how do we prevent those individuals from coming into law enforcement, period? And then once they are in law enforcement, how do we get rid of them? And I've never met a good cop that's ever told me that they disagree with that premise, right? So the idea is to negate the circumstances by which these folks can operate in a police department, and they can go find something else to do.
Yeah. Dr. Del Carmen, you raised you raised an either-or situation initially in our talk. You said you can either, decide that we're going to make these buildings safe and put the time, effort, and money into it, or we can deal with the consequences afterward. And I said this after the Uvalde shooting, and I will say it again. Any parent that has a child in school that you kiss and say goodbye to every morning, and that child spends the majority of his or her day away from you, the parent, and away from the home, if you're not actively involved in your school system, if you don't have the phone number of every single school board member, if you don't have the phone number of the superintendent, and asking them again today, what are you doing to make our schools safe so that somebody can't get in and harm my kid? You are not doing your job as a parent. These schools come, Dr. Carmen, to everybody. Oh, we want a levy for more school buses. Oh, we want to give the teachers a raise. Oh, we want more books for our library. Well, what they ought to be talking about is making the environment safe, because all the books, all the teachers, all the hot lunches in the world don't mean a hill of crap unless your kid is safe in that school. Everybody should be asking that question today of every single person on the school board in his or her community right here in Cincinnati or every place else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'll even go further than that, right? So, Ken, we are in a different era than the era that you and I grew up with. We are now in a set of circumstances that my kids are now grown up, and they're both in postgraduate schools. But I will tell you that if they were little, I wouldn't mind at all as a parent that my school decides to put, metal sensors at the entrance, that they have armed people guarding the perimeters, because you know what, that's going to bring me comfort to know that I have a really good chance of seeing my kid that afternoon when they get out of school. Right. We live in a different world now than we did 10 years ago, and we have a lot to learn from places like Israel, where they actually do that as part of their norm, part of their way of life. And this sort of idea that we're going to live in this country that, people can just walk anywhere armed and kill people at will, but because we don't want to put metal detectors to offend people, somehow we just don't want that, but yet we want our kids to be safe. We are going to have to make a choice between those two things, and I know I've made my choice.
Yes. Dr. Alex Del Carmen, before I let you go, the suspect is dead like most of these people. He was a coward. He killed himself at the end. So we're not really going to know what the motivation was, what led him to do something like that. Do you anticipate any kind of information as they do a deep dive into that would lead anyone to find out exactly what this guy was up to and why he did it?
Yeah, I think that right now, I'm sure the FBI is going through computer files, social media, personal background of this guy. What we do know is the person supposedly suffered from mental illness, wasn't stable, was a loner, had a note apparently on him that they just found. All of those factors will lead to what researchers like me have been doing for some time, which is tracking these incidents down to say that the person made an irrational choice at the wrong time in history and ended up hurting other people. And that's how this is going to end. But I think the bigger question is, what can we do to prevent these from happening again?
Absolutely. Dr. Alex Del Carmen, you're always there when I need you, and I appreciate that so much. You stay well. We need to hear your voice, okay?
Thanks, Ken. Be well.